Welcome back to episode 113 of Driven for Health. This is Mike's story. I've known this guy since I started my career. So you'll be able to learn a little bit about our relationship way back in 2004 when he used to come to my group exercise classes. But he circled back now and joined the Call to Rise program, the 100-day men's fat loss challenge. And I wanted to share, he lost 15 pounds, 12% body fat, which is phenomenal results because normally you're supposed to lose 1 or 2% a month. This guy lost almost 0.75% a week, which is phenomenal for fat loss. And we did it in a way that he actually enjoyed. He learned how to eat, how to fuel his body, his lifestyle, and give him long-term success. So I want to share our episode. Here it goes. Today we have a special guest with us. This is Mike. Actually, I've known this guy for over 20 years. He'd come to my ab class, the Phenomenal Abdominal, Monday nights at 5. He'd come to my spin classes Friday nights. He'd come to my shake and bakes, all these things I used to do back in the early days of Brian, Coach Brian, before he actually was Coach Brian. He just was exercise, lead group exercise Brian. And I'm so pleased that Mike had circled back years later. Now, Mike is a father too. He's a husband of 33 years, super important there. Father of 2. His daughter's getting married this weekend, which is so wild and cool. And it was a deadline, a goal for him to look and feel some of his best, walk his daughter down the aisle, you know what I mean? And then his son's getting into his career down in Florida. He's a man of faith throughout his whole life. And you can see that by the way he lives and the way he talks and speaks and treats people. He loves fly fishing and, of course, working out. And that's how we got to meet. So, Mike, welcome. Excited to have you here.
Thank you, Brian. Yeah, I'm glad I came on the journey with you.
Yeah. What was the biggest thing that we were able to accomplish together?
I would say a bit of a body transformation in just 3 months. I'd mentioned to you earlier that my goal was to really try to drop some of the body weight. I'm 59 years old, been working out at the gym pretty regularly, but I've been starting to get some bigger love handles than I care for, and carrying around most of the weight in my ab area. And I've tried multiple times on my own, and it was never long lasting. I might be able to drop 5 or 10 pounds pretty quickly, and then it would go right back on quickly.
Yeah.
So I would say the biggest transformation for me is the fact that I've had to buy new belts, and pretty much all my dress pants have had to be taken in about 2 inches, which 2 inches in the waist in just over 3 months, I think is a pretty good accomplishment.
Yeah, I would definitely say, and that's where it matters a lot for guys of our age, of over 40, and especially the closer or above 40-inch waistline guys, you are in serious trouble for some form of chronic illness, cardiovascular disease, heart disease, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes. Those are things that will be likely coming your way if you don't get it back down and to ideally a 34, even possibly 36 or something like that. So you're super busy, right? You just started a job in the beginning of, he joined the 100-day Call to Rise program, the fat loss challenge, and in the beginning he had a lot going on. So tell us about what the initial setup was when you even reached out in the first place, because there was a lot going on.
Yeah. So just being able to work with you and knowing you, I had been getting your emails about the work you were doing as the coach now and helping men over, 40, even though I'm, like I said, 59. But just finally biting the bullet. I had been one of the caretakers for my mother who had been in a nursing home for the last 2 years dealing with cognitive decline due to dementia. And she passed away at the beginning of February 8th. And a lot of my routine was seeing her almost every morning for breakfast, and that was taken away. I also started a new job in the middle of February, kind of coming out of retirement for the second time out of boredom. And I wanted to have a purpose, a sense of belonging. So I was able to get that through work. But I also thought that was a good time to join you, Brian, and the other guys looking to do something for themselves and not looking at things as a cost, but more of an investment. I also, having been in the nursing home for 2 years with my mother, it was a real challenge seeing people in different stages of mental decline. And there's different things
Yep.
that can lead to that.
Physical
Obviously, some of
decline.
it's
Yep.
genetics, right? But there are things I can
Right.
control, which is what I do with my body, what I put into my body. And if I can put, high octane gas in my nice sports car, I sure as heck ought to put good food into my body. And it's hard to do that when you
Exactly.
don't
It's the only
have
place you
the
actually
knowledge.
live.
Yeah, I just didn't have the knowledge. I thought I had the knowledge and I didn't. And as we go through this, Brian, I think I'll be
Right.
able to share some of the wisdom that you shared with me and the other guys to help us
Oh,
get to
definitely.
where we want to be.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, definitely. So you had a lot going on, right? It's is incredibly hard to see the circle of life, right? That happens to all of us, but living through that and coming through the other end, just like wow. And my grandmother, what the one I had two grandmothers, but the one she lived in multiple different assisted living places, and she had diabetes. And it was just not good. And you're right, a lot of people have a variety of different health challenges from just genetics, but also a lot of the environment of how they've treated themselves, taking care of themselves, the food that they put in their mouth, how they move their bodies, how they even think can have an impact on what happens when they're in their 70s and you don't, or 80s or 60s, and you don't think about that when you're in the grind of the 30s, 40s, 50s, and growing family and getting them going and all. So all right, so it was a pivotal time that you had a fork in the road. What do I do with myself here? And you chose to improve yourself, knowing that things had just been slipping and sliding there for a little while of not taking as good care of yourself. Not necessarily you love to work out, so that's never been an issue, but it was the food thing and all. So
Yeah.
what were some of the results that happen, the things that you learned and all be as a result of our work together, not beyond just losing 10, you lost 15 pounds and you lost over almost 12% body fat. So what were the other things that created that outcome that you learned and helped change your mind and the way you think and act?
Yeah, I think, having accountability to someone beside myself, I'm a pretty accountable person. I usually
Yeah.
achieve what I put my mind to, but oftentimes that comes with having knowledge. And I learned through you, through the meetings you have with the guys, through all the one on one calls, all the individual texts that you send. You're constantly sharing information with us. Your website is full of an amazing amount of information that you've culled together from probably years of doing this.
Years. Yep.
And so none of it is really complicated. I thought it was going to be a lot more
Wow.
complicated. I was going to have to
Right.
track this and that and measure everything. And I really didn't.
Wow.
The fact that I've gone from about 194 pounds at the beginning of February to pretty consistently now 176, 177, body weight dropping a good 12% and staying that way
Yeah.
has been good. I think for me to take it to the next step, I probably do need to maybe consider tracking um, my working out, actually, which has always been a strength, has probably petered out a little bit because of some back issues I've had, maybe coming from a surgery on my back 9 years ago.
Yeah.
But I would say the main things that I've learned here is the importance of portion control. I've always drank a good amount of water. That's something that you really push, drinking, a good 100 ounces of water.
Right.
Portion control. And then the fact that veggies can actually taste good and you can, quote unquote, have fun with veggies. I've taken more time and had more salads in the last several months. I've had minimal sandwiches, but to spend 15 minutes putting together a really nice salad, and staying full, with a bunch of protein and flavor in it, has been
Hmm.
pretty cool,
Yep.
and making green veggies taste good, not just palatable, but taste good, has
Yeah.
been interesting. And then just the camaraderie too of the
Right.
guys and realizing, that we're not in this on our own. And,
Yeah.
we're all trying to do this for the long term. Obviously I'd like to see my daughter who gets married. I like to see her kids. I'd like to
Right.
visit Joey down in Florida and, not have a dad bod, but be able to go
Right.
on the beach.
Yeah, go to the beach
Uh,
and you giving your
and
son a run for his money when you
yeah,
take your shirt
yeah.
off.
Yep, at least he's got hair, where I don't have a ton, but, the body is definitely getting better. The physical results are speaking for themselves. Also
Yes.
losing about 17 pounds. has taken off some strain on my lower back.
Oh, definitely,
And so
definitely.
that's helping too.
Yeah, one of the last body pictures that you shared before and after style, the abdominal definition was definitely noticeable. It's like, man, you're looking strong, man. This is great. All this muscle you've been building for years, decades, and now you're able to reveal it even more so than ever. And yeah, just so everyone listening in, I didn't turn him into a rabbit. He wasn't just eating leafy
No.
greens all the time. Right? He ate out. He traveled to Florida at least twice. He went plenty of social outings throughout the time, and he did enjoy himself. But there was a redundancy of, can you get it some more vegetables there to help fill you up? And I imagine from our conversations and just the undertone that you hear in the group, the goal isn't to starve. This goal isn't
No.
to eat on repeat. The goal is to enjoy some moderation, some balance, some flexibility in life, in food, and have fun with this so that it is sustainable. Now, how
Yeah.
was your take on that? So, because when you came in, you're like, oh, I might have to eat the same things or whatever, to you have a lot more food freedom this weekend to thoroughly enjoy the wedding experience, but not feel like you're gaining 5 pounds as a result.
Yeah, it's nice because to be accountable to yourself and then in a way to the group, um, I'd say in the first couple weeks was probably the biggest challenge because if we would go out, I would normally have, maybe 2 cocktails, have
Right.
bread, being Italian, have a nice meal, and then my wife and I would split dessert. And I'm like, "Man, this is kind of a drag." But then as you start making those tougher decisions, you feel good that you had the discipline to make those decisions. And I never drank a ton for the most part,
No.
at least not lately at my age, because I don't feel that great the next day. But
Right.
I've definitely dropped my alcohol consumption, maybe on average of 3 to 5 a week to maybe 2 to 3 a month.
Yeah.
And I think that's made a big difference. Um,
Agreed.
but as far as early on, again, it was never like, "Hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that." And you didn't have me eating many calories, dude. You have me target like 16 to 1,800 calories.
Yeah. That's
And
a good amount
I
for fat
rarely was
loss.
starving.
Yeah.
I wasn't having headaches. I wasn't having
Mm.
cravings. The one thing I told my wife the other day, Brian, I used to always like bread. I wouldn't go out of my way to eat it, but if there's good Italian bread, I'd like to eat it.
Sure.
And I don't know if it's a craving or what, but I've really not even desired to eat bread. I'd rather
Yeah.
eat a salad, which I don't know if that's a chemical reaction going on in my body or what. Um, so I can say on a scale of 1 to 10, if 10 being, this 100 days being the most difficult thing to do, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would say it was down to maybe a 2 or a 3, and it becomes
Nice.
easier as you learn to
Yes.
say no to things that aren't good because you're feeling the difference. So that
Right.
was pretty interesting. In the past, just real quick, I gotta say there's Doctor
Yeah.
Mark Hyman, who's pretty
Oh
well
yeah.
known from his work from the Cleveland Clinic and a bunch
Right.
of functional medicine stuff he does. In the past, I've done a 10-day fast where I've, had none, no alcohol, no sugar, no dairy, no wheat. And in 10 days, I didn't feel great the first couple days. And you definitely shed stuff and you get more flexible. But it's not, for me, it's not realistic to think I'm cutting those
Right.
4 things out of my life. In this 100-day journey, you did not ask me to cut out a single thing. You just asked
Nope.
me to be more mindful, make more informed decisions, and the results will come. And when you see your body, when you lose a couple inches on your waist that you haven't been able to lose for years, and you see that happen that quickly, that's motivation enough to keep this up.
Yeah, definitely. We could see the motivation compounding, right? You can't ever start with motivation with the circumstances and situations in the beginning of our journey together. There's a lot. There was no motivation. And just you realize that I need to take care of myself so that I'm healthier at 60 than I'm at 59, which is a great thing. And we should aspire. I would love for you to be healthier and very active at 65 and better than where you're at now as we continue to go in time. But we don't have to do these drastic things that people have this all or nothing mindset to, that they can't eat carbs, or a whole food group has to get cut out, or I can't eat at all, I have to fast and I
Yeah.
can't eat at
No,
these times of the day, or just they're really weird food behaviors. And that's something that I'm super paying attention to, because I need this to be lifestyle. That's what we're creating together, is your future lifestyle. I always say this, and I'll say it again. What we do in 2 weeks, we should be able to do in 2 months. We should be able to do in 2 years. So we are building the lifestyle and the food, the routine, the patterns, behaviors of how you live your life, so that it gives you the look, the feel, the body that you want. And we don't have to work so hard, because anytime that you gain, say, over 10 pounds, you're looking for a good 4 to 8 week effort to be super consistent to be able to lose it. And it's just, that's not a lot of fun. So
There's
we want to
nothing,
avoid that.
Brian, where I felt like I wasn't in control of my journey, so to speak. You
Good.
were there to help me along my journey. I made my goals clear to you. I've exceeded my goals that I set
Yeah.
with you. I've got more goals for the rest of this year, which is get from
Yep.
177 down to 170, with a
Yep.
stretch goal of getting down to 165, because I still have some fat that I can lose. But strength wise, mental wise, a lot of things have definitely improved. There were times, in the last 3 months with my mom passing away, my son moving to Florida for work, I'd get kind of upset. I don't want to say depressed, but just kind of in a funk, realize my
Yeah.
daughter's going to be out of the house.
Right.
But this is
Empty
something that I
nester
could look
for sure.
yeah, and I could just look in the mirror and think, "Hey, you know what? My life's gonna go on. My son's in a good place. My daughter's marrying a great guy." And
Yeah.
so, I may as well take care of myself, because I don't have a lot of fears in life, but thinking that my mind might decline like my mother's and other people with, cognitive decline scares the hell out of me. And
Yeah.
if there's things I can control, which has to do with food and exercise, I'm doggone well gonna do that. Genes I can't control, so we'll see.
Right. Right. You can put yourself in the best position. And even in, if you think about the way you've lived your life, you have done that financially, with your education, with your family, with a lot of different areas in your life. So why wouldn't we want to be congruent in your health as well? There would be, there'd be a lot of friction and a lot of dissonance with how you felt about your life, but how you actually saw yourself in the mirror and all. So, um,
Yeah, it
so
was nice
you
today. Just a quick story. So, a
yeah,
friend of
please.
mine, someone who's done quite a bit of painting at our house, a really wonderful guy. We've become friends. He's actually coming to our daughter's
I mean,
wedding.
look at that paint job behind you.
Yeah, he did me. I did the whole house. So, he and I went to dinner when the Cavs lost in Game 6. So that was maybe
Okay.
in against Detroit. So that was
Okay.
about a month ago, and he saw me then, and he saw me this morning because he's coming back to do more work. And he said, "Man, you look really good." So in just a month, even though I haven't noticed a big difference, he says I look more toned, I look good. People haven't seen me in a little bit. The consistent message, boy, you look really good. And that just continues the motivation. Not that I really need it, because I think I have it internally,
Yeah,
but
you
it's
are.
nice that other people are recognizing. And I think at the wedding, people will be pretty shocked,
Right.
with the
Right.
amount that I've dropped.
Right. One thing that I'd be curious to understand is, from you and your perspective. Certainly, you knew me from a very long time, right? You used to come to my classes, and obviously, I went on to do CrossFit, and then did the remote health coaching for a while. But then, because of the emails and everything, you circle back, and I appreciate that, because we've done amazing work. And I can continue on my legacy as being Brian in your life, right? Like, oh, Brian was awesome then, and he's still awesome now. But the group aspect of the men's group, that is something that I don't think guys can appreciate as much as they think, because men feel like they have to do it alone, that they have to work hard, they have to grind, they have to hustle, they're all in effort type stuff, and it honestly is just doing it alone. But how did just being in with a bunch of similar, in quotations, Mike, other guys dealing with having health as a priority, but having to overcome the busyness that is going on in their life through work, through family, through stress, through finance, whatever. How was that helpful for you to be able to just be motivated to keep going?
Yeah, I would say, by now, anything I've done over the last 100 days has definitely become more of a habit than trying to stretch or grow a new muscle. But in the beginning, when it might be a little tougher, me dealing with all the issues that we spoke about, in my personal life, just having other guys hearing their stories. One of the things I've learned, not necessarily through this group, but it's been enforced with the group, is the importance of being vulnerable. Guys, we don't like
Yeah.
being vulnerable at all. We
Right.
always got to put on this, tough shield. Hey, I'm this and that. And it's
Right.
just not worth it. I think if we're willing to show that we're not perfect, if we're willing to be vulnerable with another group of guys and realize that we're going to be accepted and encouraged, and supported, that's a pretty cool thing. So that
Yeah.
that was helpful. Realizing that I'm not alone, realizing that maybe I can share something that's going to help someone else, or vice versa. So that's always
Yep.
good, because when you try doing something difficult on your own, maybe you can get it done. But I think when you do it in a group setting, and then especially someone like you who really hold us accountable, you don't blow smoke at all. You hold us accountable. If I'm not doing something right, you
Yeah.
appropriately let me know of, hey, y- this is the way you should be doing it. And
Right.
you don't, pull any punches. So that's been good.
Yeah, definitely. I'll say one thing that you have left an impact on me. Just a couple weeks ago, we had the push-up challenge, and I said, "Oh, hey, let's do a push-up challenge," and you said, "Yeah," and I was circling the group trying to understand. Okay, how much do we want to do? What's the minimum that we're going to set? And of course, because I'm a coach and I know everyone was at a different level, so whatever we set in that meeting, I went to every individual person and set a personalized individual goal, because what I could do in comparison to what Mike or Chris or Danny could do is different, and it's all relevant to them. So I went in and set smaller individual goals, like, hey, for you, if you do 30 push-ups a day, that's going to be awesome. And whereas, like, for me, I should be doing over 100, because if that guy did it, he'd blow his shoulder out, and that would not be a good thing, right? But so it's just a challenge to participate. So just to give some quantification, but so we throw out this push-up challenge, and you said as many, and I was thinking 500, 800, or something like that. And you said as many, and then I ponder on it. I'm like, okay. All right. So I ended up doing 1,250 push-ups in the 7-day cycle, from Thursday morning to Wednesday night before the meeting. 1,250. I was doing sets of 30. I busted out one set of 50, which I was totally surprised that I could do that many, because I hadn't done that many in a long time.
And I
But
watched on your video, and you were doing them real. You weren't just,
oh yeah, full
little
range of
tweaks.
motion. Yeah,
Yeah, it was pretty
yeah. That
cool.
was the 50 set. Yeah, you gotta go all the way down, people. You can't just do these like
Yeah.
elbow pumps. So we did that, but here's the cool part. So today, for example, I am probably not going to lift weights, but I can move my body. And because we did that, I had figured out a way. Oh, if I can't work out in a day, I can do push ups. I was doing 150 to 100 to 210, because I was doing sets of 30 roughly. And I didn't have a lot of soreness or anything, but it was a good, what they call in my world, greasing the groove. So, and that's getting a lot of volume and reps in. What I did after literally the day after, I was actually, I'm going to say this softer because my wife might be able to hear this, but I was late picking her up at the airport because I went to Home Depot to buy clamps to be able to put a pipe into the ceiling of my basement in my house. So, so now, because of the push-up challenge, I will do 30 push-ups, and then I will do 15 pull-ups. And I have a piece of paper in that room. It's our storage room. So when I walk by it and I'm thinking about it, I'll just pop in for a quick push up, pull up set. But I have done probably 15 to 20 cycles of the 30 push ups, 15 pull ups since then. So I'm just getting a lot more volume without having to say work out. So today, throughout the course of the day, I'm probably not going to lift weights, but I will do, in my brain, I already said I'm going to do 5 or 6 sets of it. So I'll end up with 150 push-ups and 60 pull-ups or something, and it's your fault. So,
Good, good. You're welcome.
but I because push-ups are easy, but because I do this for a living, we have to have balance in the shoulder joint. We can't just do push-ups, because that'll cause problems with overdeveloped chest muscle, tightness in your shoulders,
Rolling
rounding of
forward.
the shoulders,
Yeah.
and you will get a lot of shoulder issues. So we have to do some form of back work, and doing 30 and 15 is a good balance for that. So thank you for getting me a pull-up bar in my basement as a result of our push-up challenge and you saying as many. So it's all your fault.
No, got to set the bar some. And then the ironic thing is I did none because I was dealing with back issues and you
Right.
scared me that I was going to hurt myself. And I let you know that I didn't feel like I needed more muscle mass. I needed more
No.
fat loss. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
um,
yeah.
so I'm
Mike
glad you
has a
answered.
lot of muscle on him, and he just needs to burn the fat and reveal the muscle. And he has some shoulder issues knowingly going into it. So we had a conversation, and it was perfectly fine that he did what he did because we wanted to make sure that he didn't get hurt because that's the whole point. If you get hurt, then you can't do it. And then what's the point in the first place? Well, let's talk about as we wrap up. Let's talk to Mike 6 months ago or even 2 years ago. If someone's listening in, wondering if they should get started or if this is right for them, or how should they take care of themselves, or any of those things, what would you tell them? What advice would you give?
I would say if you haven't been successful in doing it on your own, let's say you have a desire to reach a certain goal. And if you've tried many months, years, and you haven't been able to consistently achieve it, I would say instead of looking at this interaction with Brian as a cost, I would absolutely look at it as one of the most important investments you can make because all of us can make money or lose money. All of us can do, whatever. But if we don't have our health, mental or physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, whatever it is, I try to be balanced with physical, intellectual, emotional, spiritual health. And when all
Yep.
that's in balance, life's good. And I think the one thing that maybe was slipping away or I couldn't quite hammer is to get to the physical aspect that I wanted to. They had more of a, I don't want to say a pear shape, but the love handles, were big. And now to lose at least 2 inches on my waist is a good deal. So I would say if you have tried unsuccessfully, look at it as an investment in yourself, an investment in your family from the physical part. But in addition to the physical part, I think you're going to get a lot of other stuff with the camaraderie, the willingness to be vulnerable, the friendships that you make in the group. So that's what I would share.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree. So if you're listening in and you know you need to change and you've tried it on your own, but you actually haven't been successful, people come to me in some of the worst health situations that they've been in, and it still can get even worse. Okay. Just want to throw that out there. It can get worse, even if you're not in a good spot. So you have to do something that's different from what you had done in the past to get you out of that situation. Because Einstein says it's doing the same thing over and over. I go to the gym every day, but I don't change my weight. We still need to do something different then because that's how we get to think different to then take different actions. And that's what we do a lot in the Call to Rise program. It's a 100-day fat loss challenge for men over 40 to manage and deal because 40s, 50s are a really challenging place of life of aging parents, aging kids. And Mike is a prime example of those just two situations there. And he needed to take care of himself so that his the third chapter when he's solo here, or excuse me, when the he's kid free and they've left the home, that he can thoroughly enjoy all the hard work and the discipline and the choices that he's made throughout his life to set him up in a best situation type scenario because that's just who he is. And health is going to be an important one because I do have guys that come in that are Mike's age and they're dealing with stage 3 kidney disease, or they have a really high A1C and they have diabetes. And those are, I'm sure, Mike, you would not want those to be in association with you. So check out thecalltorise.com. And hopefully that this Mike's story is inspirational for you to take action and do something different. Thank you
Hey,
so
Brian,
much today, Mike.
Brian,
Yeah.
one quick comment. I
Yeah.
came into this, I don't take any prescription medications. I just take supplements like vitamin D because we have no sun in Cleveland,
Yeah.
um, fish oils, magnesium. But for me to come into this not being in terrible shape, but being able to have these kind of results before I got even worse and worse has been motivating. And it's nice to be able to do this without the help of Ozempic and
Oh,
GLP-1.
right.
So to just do it naturally and sustainably
Yep.
because of you and the group has been
Yeah.
very gratifying and worth every penny I put into this. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely. And people are spending way more than what the program costs to be on Ozempic. But hey, newsflash, what happens when you stop taking the GLP-1? What then? You're still have a problem. You put a band-aid on it, and yes, a GLP-1 can help you get from a very unhealthy spot to a healthier spot to become more motivated or more incentivized or whatever. And so it can be a tool and useful if someone is in a poor health situation. But in your situation, Mike, you didn't need a GLP-1. You needed to change the way you think and the way that you behave around food, around your lifestyle, because that would not have done it. It would have just, you wouldn't have been hungry, so you wouldn't have eaten, and you would have lost weight being in a calorie deficit, but you would have changed nothing with your food, which with what we did and the impact of the vegetables and the protein and all these things are keeping muscle on you, helping you burn body fat, but getting micronutrient dense foods in you in mass quantities that you enjoy to make you healthier overall
Yeah.
and harder to kill at the end of the day. So I
Don't tell
thank you
my
for
wife.
calling that out. Yeah, yeah. uh, Thank you for pointing that, because a lot of people are doing the GLP-1 route, and it is a tool, but we need to find a sustainable lifestyle and approach and education around how to do it. And that's what I've done for decades now. So, all right. Thank you so much, Mike. I really appreciate your time, sharing your story. And I hope if you are listening, you take some action. Have a
Thanks,
wonderful day.
buddy. Take care.
I hope you learned a thing or two on sleep, and the way you think about sleep has a huge impact on if you're even a good sleeper or not. So take that home from our conversation in episode 110 and the follow up today in the roundtable of me explaining to my guys about sleep on a more contextual level in which it works on their day to day life. Thank you for joining me in this episode of Driven for Health. I look forward to catching you in the next.